Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Every year on this day, for the last 18 years, since I was 23 years old, the nation stops to reflect and to mourn. We pay tribute to the people that we lost on September 11th, 2001, all the people whose lives were affected, and all those who worked tirelessly and selflessly to try to save and help others, those who rushed into those buildings, and those who sorted through the wreckage and sustained lifelong damage to their health they struggle with to this day. It's a really important moment of civic unity and collective grief. And it is right and proper and essential, in fact, that we mark today, that we do not forget. But this year feels different for a very obvious reason. As we watch these rituals that we go through every September 11th, rituals that began in the immediate aftermath of the attacks, while there was still smoke rising from the rubble and the faces of the missing were still displayed all over New York City. Rituals for the loss of 3,000 Americans 19 years ago. Right now, we're in the midst of the largest mass casualty catastrophe in recent American history. We've lost nearly 194,000 Americans to the coronavirus. We are losing still about 1,000 people a day. And we have seen moments of civic solidarity during this crisis that recall the unity we saw after 9/11. Like the nightly cheering for the healthcare workers in New York, some of whom came from all over the country, answering the call, risking their lives to help. And kids drawing rainbows hung in windows, signaling hope. But by and large, that national sense of unity and grief and solemnity and tribute, when it's happened, has happened in spite of our leadership, not because of it, and often has been totally absent from this catastrophe to a shocking degree. In fact, even worse than absent, it has been contemptuously dismissed by the Trump administration. As we know, Donald Trump lied about the severity of this virus from the very beginning, and we still have people from the president on down, his allies and his mouthpieces and propagandists on Trump TV engaged in a truly sick game of whataboutism. Something I keep thinking about is what it would be like after 9/11, what it would have been like to walk around New York in the days and weeks and months after that catastrophe, telling people, well, you know, the flu kills 30 to 40,000 people a year, so this isn't really that big of a deal. Or, you know, a lot of people who died in those towers, they were pretty old or they had comorbidities, so they probably were going to die soon anyway. You would have sounded like a sociopath. In fact, you probably would have gotten punched in the face. I honestly can't imagine anyone would have even thought to say that. And I've been thinking a lot about the difference in the reaction to these two tragedies. I mean, on September 11th, we watched mass murder happen in front of our eyes. And those of us who watched it will never forget it. It is seared into our memories until our dying day. Whereas most of the deaths from coronavirus have been quiet and lonely, people on ventilators in the intensive care unit FaceTiming their loved ones goodbye if they're lucky. They aren't happening on camera. We're not seeing it on TV every day. And the 9/11 attacks were also an insult to our national honor. And there was an enemy to visit retribution upon. And here there is just a microbe with no ideology and no propaganda and no grand geostrategic aims. Now, a certain faction of American politics, American conservatives specifically, some of them, immediately saw hay to make out of 9/11, a way to marshal all that grief and that anguish towards a political end. They consolidated political power and they waged war abroad and culture war at home. Many people who described themselves as liberals even cheered them on. And the same right-wing movement that did that now looks at us losing 1,000 Americans a day, fast approaching 200,000 lives lost, and they see there is nothing to be gained this time around politically. So they just snicker or wave it away or pretend it's not happening. As if after 9/11, people said, no, the towers did not come down, or buildings collapse all the time. It's denial and a lie. And it can't help but make you feel a certain kind of rage, a rage that, frankly, I struggle to control and convey on this program every night, night in, night out, because it's not over. The pandemic is still happening right now, and our president is not stopping it. He's making it worse. Just today, more than 1,000 American deaths have been recorded. 1,000 today. Donald Trump's not even doing the smallest thing to help, like, for instance, as we've noted before, authorizing FEMA to pay burial expenses for people who cannot afford them. They cannot even lift a finger to do that. It's easy for our president and vice president to go to Lower Manhattan or Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and give a speech and observe a moment of silence. And it's good they do that. That's what they should do. But that is not the hard work. The hard work right now is to stop more Americans from dying, to prevent the 3,000 deaths that may well happen over this weekend. And that they won't do. And so everything they say right now is empty. All their words are meaningless.